Okay, I just finished making this cute little Christmas village with Cricut. I found out that it can actually cut wood just like this, and the design space had all of these files for these little tiny village houses, and I printed it all out, and it's so cute and I love it. Let me show you how I did it.
I did partner up with Cricut to bring you this extra cute village. Alright, the first thing to note is that not every Cricut can cut the wood. It needs to be the Maker 3. Now, I didn't have to create any new files. These were already there in the design studio for free. There were 3 different house designs, and this taller one I decided to make a steeple for to make the church. To make the steeple, I found this shape in their shapes option, flipped it over, and made sure it was the same size as the front of this house. Once I had the size correct, I was able to put it right on top, select both images, and then click slice to cut out where it's going to sit on the roof. Then I went ahead and added another shape. It is just a square at the same size as the steeple for the 2 sides of the steeple, and then 2 more squares for the roof. And I just measured based off of the size of the steeple that I had already created. And then I added 1 more little tiny square and selected both images to give a window to the front of the steeple. So you put the image on top of the existing one, select both, and then click slice. Once you have everything the way that you like it, you can go ahead and click make. Then you will select with mat, because we will be using a mat today, and hook it on up to your Maker 3, and I'll show you how to prepare your piece to be cut. Depending on the size of your cut, you will have multiple mats to use in order to cut your pieces out, and you can move those all around in the design space. Next, you want to make sure that your wood is nicely adhered to your mat. So I laid down my wood, pushed it nice and tight, and then I went ahead and used masking tape to tape it to the mat just so I don't have any movement and it stays right where it needs to while it's being cut. Now, I couldn't have any pieces of the tape hanging over the mat, so I went ahead and made sure to cut any excess around the mat off, but also to make sure that it was nicely pressed down so the wood wouldn't go anywhere while being cut. You do need a special knife blade by Cricut in order to cut things this thick like wood, and you just place it right into the B slot by unlatching here. And you can see how sharp and deep this blade is so that it can cut all the way through that piece, and it scores it and goes quite a few times. So you just set it in and close the latch like so. Once the blade is in and you're ready to go, you can start the cut. And it was really kind of cool to watch this cut the wood. It does take quite a long time because it does multiple passes throughout the cuts in order to cut all the way through the wood pieces. Once everything is cut, you can bring out and start the weeding process. And this is kind of fun. You just punch out the windows and pull everything apart, get it ready to glue together. Here's the wall of the first house. I did kind of really quickly rough dry assemble this little house to make sure it would fit correctly, and I didn't use any glue. I figured out that the front and the back of the house should sit on the inside of the side pieces. That way the roof will lay on top of the front and the back piece as well. So now I'm going to undo and weed out all of my houses so I have them all ready to go before I start the gluing process. And you can just peel them right off of the mat, make sure all the tape comes off as well, and then you can weed out the windows. Now I've got my glue ready to go, and I'm just putting a strand of glue along the side of the house and then attaching the other piece and holding it for a second. I did put a piece of cardboard underneath so I didn't get glue on my kitchen table, and I'm just assembling the entire house as best I can and as tight as I can. We will be adding snow along all of the seams, so it doesn't need to be perfect. So I basically made 5 houses all together, and I printed this tall house twice because it will also act as the church, which will sit in the middle with the steeple. Okay, I wanted to try them out before I add the snow. I found the little tea lights on Amazon, and they kind of flash and twinkle like regular lights. And now I'm going to add snow to all of the seams, and I'm just using baking soda, Mod Podge, and paint, and I'm going to mix it all up in this cup.
I'm just going to use a paint knife to spread it all out and also to mix it all up. And I just made it the consistency that I thought snow would be. I wanted it to be a little fluffy and also not to be runny. I don't want it running off of the house. So you just put enough baking soda in there to give it a powdery feel and make it a little fluffy. And then I put it along every seam and dabbed a little bit in the window corners and just anywhere you think there would be some snow drift. And if you wanted, you could put a little sprinkles or sparkles in this, and I think it would add a lot to them. But even just this little bit of snow that I had made just here on hand really adds to the effect of these cute little Christmas village houses. I love them. And that's it. They're all done. I added these cute little bottle brush trees that I found at the dollar store and the tea lights that I found on Amazon, and then a little fake snow underneath. Here's the tea lights. They actually are timed, so they will last for 6 hours, and every day they'll come on at the same time that you start them. So I have them coming on at 5, and they will go off 6 hours after that. I love them.